from there. Joining us, the former policy director for the Republican Governors Association and a GOP strategist, Marie Sanderson. Marie, how you doing this morning?
I'm great, Dave. Good morning to you.
Now, I have a question. Has your head stopped spinning since January 20th? As someone who is deep into policy, this has to be Christmas, I would think.
It has been exciting. It has been fast. And I think the president is doing exactly what he told his voters would do. And in the world of politics, it doesn't get much better than someone who campaigns on promises and executes them rapidly in the first 100 days.
And that, I think, is what delineates President Trump from pretty much all other presidents, including his first term. Because it was a different experience for Trump and his administration from 2016 to 2020 than it's already been now. And why do you think that is?
This president came into office with a mandate. He has the House, he has the Senate, and he has the benefit of already serving once. He's surrounded by smart individuals who understand policy and process and politics, which are all critical to executing a vision. And he also understands that there are certain things he can do administratively, and he is pushing that envelope really hard to make good change for the country. So, look, I think President Trump's 2.0 is very disciplined. It's not like 1.0. He has a chief of staff, Susie Wiles, who is extremely capable, the first female chief of staff, I should add. And he also has his deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, who's very seasoned and very capable and has been working for years to think through what a 2.0 would be. And they are executing it at rapid pace.
Well, and you mentioned Susie Wiles, and I got to tell you, I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan for a long time of hers, because if you want to find someone in government that just gets stuff done, it's her. She knows exactly how everything operates, where all the gears mesh together, and she keeps them thoroughly greased and moving along at a rapid pace. And I think we're going to have to spend a little time and make sure moving forward that she gets the credit I think she probably deserves for everything that's happening already.
No doubt. She's brilliant. She has the policy know-how and the leadership skills that not only propelled the president into the White House, but is currently leading this administration in a really effective way.
Were you, swapping topics just a little bit here, were you surprised yesterday that the confirmation for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. went as well as it did?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. I expected it. The reality is, while there are some who may question some of his past statements, a lot of Americans, women in particular, who voted for the president really support his vision, his MAHA vision, Make America Healthy Again. As a mom of three, we are worried about the FDA. We're worried about what our kids eat. We are appreciative that he is asking questions in a smart way. And so, look, I think it's great that they approved him. And for a point to make, they're approving all of his nominees. We have a few more to go, but his cabinet will be reinstated or instated. And so we're really thrilled about these confirmations and about what that vision means for not only HHS, but the rest of these agencies.
Well, because of the delay in confirmation, the first 100 days don't really overlap. But what do you think we're going to see out of RFK Jr. in his first 100 days as the Secretary of Health and Human Services?
That's a great question. I think you're going to see what we've seen at some of these other agencies. They will freeze funding. DOJ has been working very carefully to look at these programs. What are they? What do they do? What is the efficacy of these programs? And should they be funded? And so I suspect we'll see freezing of programs, the elimination of DEI efforts throughout HHS. You'll see that. And beyond that, they named a new commission. The Make America Healthy Again Commission was installed last night via executive order. So I expect to see a lot more come out of this White House as it relates to improving healthcare. Clearly, Congress, through the reconciliation and the appropriations process, which is ongoing right now on Capitol Hill, are going to have to make hard decisions about entitlement spending. And that involves Medicaid and Medicare. The president has said If you're eligible for benefits, he doesn't want to take that away. But I do think we will see some important reforms to those programs.
Well, and reforms are needed to keep those programs solvent and operating further into the future, which has been a concern. I've been hearing that half of my life, Marie. Social Security is going to run out. You're never going to see a check. DOGE and the policies that Trump is bringing into place, I think are going to lengthen that time span by quite a bit. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Look, DOGE is doing important work. I've been talking to some of my colleagues. I can't believe a president hasn't done this before, but it just shows how outside the box President Trump is going to be in 2.0. The people who work for him are change agents. They wouldn't have gotten the job if they weren't going to go in and look for change. So, yeah, DOGE is finding all sorts of programs that need to be discontinued. They have a willingness from Congress to try and implement some of these changes. And it's popular. 53% of Americans are pleased with the pace at which the president is trying to make change and pleased with what they're doing at DOGE.
His approval rating has never been higher than it is right now, but that's what happens, as you said at the beginning, when you do what you said you were going to do, you just do it quicker than anybody was expecting you to pull it off. The entire thing with DOGE, and we keep seeing all of the lawsuits being filed saying they can't do this, keep seeing all of the legal challenges and the screaming and the gnashing and the wailing of teeth, the rending of garments from the liberal side of things over what they're doing, and you can't do this and it's unconstitutional. It was actually genius the way they set this up, the way Trump put DOGE into effect, because he didn't create this out of whole cloth, did he?
Well, look, DOGE is independent, but situated next to government, so it can go make good change. I think the most important thing about DOGE is the transparency in the way they are communicating. They find fraud, they tell the American public. It's extremely transparent. So you do have people who are upset that their funding may be stopped or stalled or in some cases just evaluated. But the president and Mr. Musk are being very transparent about that. The DOGE website, I think, went up yesterday. If not, it'll be up today. So you can go and see exactly what they're doing. It's extremely effective, not only with the way they're evaluating all these programs with smart, young engineers, but also the way they're communicating it to the American public.
Well, it's highly effective. Something else that we've seen that's been highly effective in the first, not quite 4 weeks of the president's term, is his approach to immigration and how that has unrolled with Tom Homan, the border czar, and everyone else starting to pull in together with them. That's another campaign promise fulfilled already, and they're continuing to fulfill it. How important is that?
It's absolutely critical. There were two issues that Americans voted in the last election. One was the economy and one was immigration. The president campaigned hard on securing the border, and that's exactly what he's doing. If you look at the bill that was released yesterday in the Senate for reconciliation, it's heavy on funds that would fund support for immigration and protect our country. And I think that is a direct reflection of what the president campaigned on and his staff's interaction with Congress. So I think his campaign's promises are going to be kept. The process still needs to be carried out, but the president is working with Congress to do that.
Well, I'm going to blame you for this next part, and we're actually coming up on the break. Can you hang on through the break with us?
Sure, no problem. Absolutely.
But I'm going to totally blame you for what we're going to get into when we come back, because you're the one that mentioned the economy. I want, Your Honor, I'd like that on the record. It's Marie's fault. But we do have to discuss that because the liberals are desperately trying to misrepresent the current economic numbers in so many different ways. And I want to get your take on that. We've got Marie Sanderson with us, and we will continue with her on the Gallo Show on a Friday morning on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here. Welcome back, SuperTalk Mississippi, the Gallo Show. Dave Hughes here. And with us, Marie Sanderson, and she brought up the economy, but I think we have to acknowledge something that the liberals definitely don't want to acknowledge. As far as they're concerned, the economy starting at noon on the 20th forward is all the fault of President Donald Trump, and that's not the way things work. We have to have time for his policies to take effect, right?
That's right. This president is working hard to fix our trade imbalance with other countries and is negotiating deals for the United States that span long or more well beyond just trade, national security and other issues. So look, he should not be blamed for what we're seeing now. Those reports, as you well know, Dave, come from data that tracks well beyond 2025.
Exactly. And there's one thing that I think some people don't understand is just how interconnected all of the policy is. Foreign policy, security policy, all of this ties together in a very complicated way. We'll use the word complicated. You might not think that foreign policy would have an impact on the economy. Oh, it's got a huge impact on the economy. Defense spending and everything else, right?
Of course it does. And this president is already talking to world leaders about items that are important to the United States. Some people argue that the tariffs are not something that the president should be doing. It's a negotiation tactic in many ways, in my personal opinion. He's been able to get Canada, Mexico. Today, there are reports that European leaders are all trying to come to the United States to talk about how they can work with this president to avoid certain impacts to their economy. And that's the benefit of this tariff process that the president is using.
Basically, he has, by using the tariffs, put himself in the driver's seat. He's not going to these other countries to ask them, what can we do? He just said, well, I'm about to hit you with this. And all of a sudden, as you just said, now they're all just dancing in place, trying to wait their turn to get over here to talk about their country and what they can work out. But you touched on something that I think is completely lost on the liberal mindset. Not everything that President Trump says has directly anything to do with what he's trying to accomplish by saying it. Everybody is trying to take everything he says at face value, but he is a businessman. He is deep into the policy world, and sometimes he says something. He says statement A to get to where you can have conversation B. And the two might not necessarily be related. And I'm going to be honest, it's hilarious. And at the same time, it's driving me a little nuts to watch everybody try to parse every word of everything he says. That's not how business is done and policy is made, is it?
No, go read Art of the Deal. This president is a master negotiator, and he's surrounded by people who understand him, more so now than in the last term. So he's announcing something, but using it to negotiate what he really wants. And again, I think the tariff process is indicative of how he views negotiations with the world.
Yes, leading through strength and using that to get what you want, what you think you need. We've needed that for a while because it's hard to lead from strength when you're taking 4 naps a day, which is what we had in the last administration. Does President Trump even sleep?
I don't think he sleeps.
No,
absolutely not. The man is always on. His team is on. I think he is. I tell people that I feel like I live in a blender right now. You said that at the top of our segment. He is moving at rapid pace, and we're going to continue to see actions, kind of a shock and awe process through at least the first year, the first 100 days, to enact change. And I think the Democrats are having to figure out not only who they are, because they're doing soul searching after this past election, but how do they deal with a president who throws something at them every single day, from defense to immigration, healthcare, education. You talked about that in the segment before I arrived, about dismantling education and getting rid of programs that taxpayers ought not be funding. So, yeah, I mean, I think This is a feed the beast type of president right now. He is giving the press, he's given Americans something to feast on every single day through his administration. And like I said earlier, 53% of the population of Americans are happy with his performance on this shock and awe effort.
It's a blender. It's stressful. There's almost too much going on to keep up with, because I would say he's not hitting them with something new every day. It's every hour, it seems like he's hitting everyone with something new. And, it's all of that, but it's also a heck of a lot of fun, isn't it? It's
been a lot of fun. I may have taken my laptop to a Mardi Gras ball last weekend in case he did something on a Saturday, but that's fun. I'm in the Super Bowl of what I do for a living right now, and it's fun to watch.
Marie, we appreciate you taking the time to join us, and you try to get a nap at some point. You're probably going to need your strength over the next few months.
Well, I will. Dave, thanks for having me. Have a great weekend.
You too. Up next, we've got news from Fox and SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then the final hour of the Gallo Show. Right after that, keep it here.